This part is going to be interesting because it's not going to be all about the patterns and how you dodge it, it's mostly on how the fight works instead. Obviously you make sure that you pre-select Ruby before you enter the boss fight because it's gonna play a big role at this fight. The second boss of this run is Joachim, and Joachim is a vampire who used to be a right hand for Walter and all of that, but the lore doesn't matter for now, we're just gonna explain how this fight works instead. Let's take a look at his basic data, since it will be interesting to watch. Two things to note here, he's weak to a cross, and then he has 1500 HP, which you can use your combo counter to keep in track how many cycles you have left. His patterns, regardless of what he does, it doesn't matter at all. What matters the most is how you execute this fight, and how do you identify this is a strong start and all of that, and what you could do if Joachim decided to do something weird. Anyway, there are 3 steps that we're going to break through this fight. The first step is about catching the boss each time. The second step is to identify whether your DPS is tampering or not. And the final step is about how many times do I need to slap rubies and how many hits do I need to land on him. There are 2 types of catching Joachim. So you notice what Joachim did here. He was literally just following me, doesn't do anything else. Like, he started his attacks very slowly. We call this the perfect catch, where Joachim doesn't do anything else but to follow you. This is slightly harder. We call this the rough catch. A lot of adaptation required for this to succeed, considering Joachim moves around the map at a very high speed, or he starts doing the attack immediately. I was fully prepared though, and I have to wait a bit here because I couldn't see the orb whether being fully spawned or not. Therefore, I popped off a ruby, and then I waited for Joachim to be nearby me. Thankfully, the triangle, or we call the strong attack starter, has a really huge hitbox, so I managed to catch him on time. You need to time that attack properly in order to succeed at catching him. But the unfortunate part that sometimes can fail because Joachim can still ignore you regardless of being stunned or not. Other than that, that's it. 2 types of the catch. The rough catch and the perfect catch. So you have to play the perfect catch most of the time. The rough catch can go worse, but it's not that bad. So that's the first part that I wanted to cover, catching Joachim. Now let's move on to the second step. 4 things. First thing is to not get hit, because you will lose the momentum on stun locking Joachim, even though that sometimes can be ignored, which I'll be explaining on the 4th thing. The second thing is timing your flame boot. If you don't time the flame boot correctly on Joachim, then the loop will straight up be gone. Even though the Michael sword sometimes can mix it up, if you time it very weirdly, just be very careful on how you time the flame boot. You have to run around circles against him sometimes. Third thing is literally timing your Michael sword and ruby. If you time the Michael sword wrong, you'll notice on your next combo that you can't cancel your finisher with a sub-weapon attack, because it has to wait for the previous Michael sword to finish the duration. Regarding the ruby, you have to wait briefly before you could spam it. Twice at least. That'll be explained on how you could cycle him. If you got these wrong, then you straight up lost the cycle. Finally, Joachim. The reason why I said Joachim himself is because sometimes when you try to combo, he will try to float at the air slightly, so you won't be able to connect him with your flame boot. The moment you lose the hit, the free hit from Flame Boot to keep the combo going, then the cycle is straight up gone. Fortunately, in step 3, I've prepared some of the footages that salvages the fight if any of those factors from step 2 triggers. Let's have a look on the optimal way first. So remember what I talked about in step 2? The Flame Boot hitbox? That's what I mean by it. You have to make sure that it will connect. If it doesn't connect, then your combo pretty much got dropped. The combo we're using here is triangle, square, square, triangle, triangle, followed by Michael Sword. Before anything else you could do, wait for a split second, like briefly, like not too long, briefly, to let the Michael Sword take effect. If you don't let it take effect and all of that, then your damages from Ruby will pretty much be really low, considering the scaling of this game. Use this opportunity to move around a bit while dodging his patrons, and then do the loop again. The moment I unpause this clip, you will understand why I don't use 3rd Ruby to finish him off, as it should finish him off right now. Why I don't use 3rd Ruby anymore is because it feels like a waste. For the most part I've been running this game, Joachim always have 3 or 5% HP left whenever I get the cycle for the 3rd Ruby. So I have to whip him once again in order to finish him off. Another reason, which is very valid for me, Joachim sometimes brings his shield up, so I can be immediately prepared to take down his shield quickly with the Ruby. The backup footage that we have seen, it was very clear and straightforward. It's very self-explanatory. You just need to throw one more cycle before slapping the gems. Now to summarize this fight, this whole 3 steps, you need the perfect catch from Joachim. The rough catch can also work, but your combo will be very rough to keep up. The total amount of Ruby that you're going to use in this fight is 5 to 6. In an event where the combo gets dropped, you just need to throw one more Michael Sword cycle. Now let's conclude this video by watching DragonDarch's footage, especially when I mentioned about using the 3rd Ruby. I love this fight when it goes right. The amount of Flame Boot hitbox was insane. Once you're done with this fight, you pick up Green Orb, make sure you equip it, but before that, use a diamond for full recovery, and you can roll the turquoise however you want. You can roll turquoise for Axe before you pick up the Green Orb, or after you pick up the Green Orb. Exit, use Memorial Ticket, and I will see you guys in the next part.